Our story starts off with 4 members of an elite team about to drop into an unknown hot zone with the goal of retrieving one Dr. Kirk. 3 of the 4 team members, Gale, Rick, and our main character Regina, all make it to the drop zone, but for some reason Cooper is missing. It's not long until we find out that Cooper was blown off course by some high winds and is in the nearby forest outside the facility. Cooper must have been wearing his red shirt under his armor because he becomes number 1 on our kill count, getting chomped on like a snack pack and turned into a future steaming pile of dino dung. The 3 surviving members make their way to the rooftop of the main building and are taken aback when it appears that there's no guards in the area. Rick goes inside to see if he can find any clues as to what might be going on. Regina links up with Gale, who's putting on his best Barry Burton blood investigation face I've ever seen since Barry Burton. Regina and Gale follow the blood and it leads them right to number 2 on our kill count. This poor guard is half the man he used to be. Regina gets a call from Rick saying that the power is out and their nearby generator will power everything back on. After flipping the switch, Regina returns outside and finds Gale missing. With nothing but a hole in the fence, some blood, and a few shell casings, Regina wonders what happened. Thankfully, she won't have to wonder too long because a hungry raptor jumps off some containers and attacks Regina. After filling the prehistoric lizard with some vitamin lead, she calls Rick and tells him that they are officially in a Jurassic Park movie. Rick laughs off Regina and continues to be a hacker man. Regina, feeling she didn't get the point across, goes to tell Rick the same information face to face. Now, after seeing Regina and her repeating the exact same information, this time Rick magically believes her. Regina wants to know why half the monitors in the control room aren't working. Rick believes that there's another generator in the lower levels of the lab, and Regina says she'll head there after she clears out the remaining places of the current floor that they're on. Rick says he'll unlock the shutters that were triggered during an emergency lockdown, and Regina leaves. After looking around the current floor, Regina finds number 3 on her kill count, the retextured RPD officer who was seemingly attacked and killed while he was changing from his Resident Evil uniform into his Dino Crisis one. Poor NPC never got a chance to even join the game. After leaving the locker room, Regina comes to an office where we find Dr. William Birkin, or at least a guy who looks exactly like him. Anyway, apparently he's here on a visit from Resident Evil 2. Dr. Birkin hands Regina an item and passes out. Some people say he dies right here, but I think it's way funnier to say that he fainted, only to be immediately turned into another snack pack by the T-Rex. Maybe that makes me a person with a really dark sense of humor, but it definitely adds Dr. Birkin to our kill count. He is number 4. Regina fires a few fire rounds into the hungry T-Rex looking for a third helping of that sweet delicious human meat, but he decides Regina ain't worth the heartburn, so Rexy decides to leave and grab him a few Tums and he'll return to grab a bit of her later. Regina, while trying to make her way to the next generator, is attacked by 2 raptors that corner her in the hallway. Regina re-adds these big lizards to the endangered species list. Regina enters a nearby room and, shocker, she's attacked by yet another raptor. This raptor, however, bitch slaps Regina right through the dry erase board, and just before he's about to take a bite out of Regina's ass, Gale ex-machins his way back into the game by popping a few holes into this bitch-slapping dinosaur. After a short conversation, the 2 split up. Shocker, that happens in every Resident Evil game. Why wouldn't it happen here? Because Gale is really Barry, who's cosplaying as Wesker. Anyway, Regina finds the second generator and powers it on. She returns to the control room where Rick and now Gale reside. Rick says he now has access to lower lab cameras. Gale says that he's seen someone in the lower level cameras, while Rick simultaneously gets a distress call that he wants to go check out. Rick is about to go, but Gale wants to investigate the lower levels. Everybody loves to split up. I don't know why it's such a big argument, but that's exactly what happens. The 2 of them have an argument. Rick returns to a nearby console and types on the keys because he is The guy in the chair, he gets up in a huff, and after a few more words of argument, decides to go check out the distress beacon. Gale goes down to the lower level to see who the guy on the camera was. After stepping outside, Regina is attacked by a... wait for it. Oh, pterodactyl. You thought I was going to say raptor, didn't you? Anyway, Regina kicks the pterodactyl into the rooftop ventilation fan. Cool. After which she comes to a room where she finds Rick and Tom. Tom is an undercover agent at the facility and appears to be badly wounded. Rick decides to help Tom back to the command center, and Regina decides to go off and try and help Gale. Just as Regina reaches Gale, however, Gale finds out that the person in the camera was none other than Dr. Kirk, who flees and hits a button, dropping the shutter. Gale ducks under just in time, and Regina is stuck on the other side. Gale calls Regina and comes up with the plan that he will continue to pursue Dr. Kirk, and Regina will go back up to the upper level and take the elevator down to meet up with Gale after she goes to the other side of the shutter, because padding the runtime is something Capcom loves to do. After going up one floor and over, Regina runs back into Rick and Tom, and the two of them were attacked by yet another raptor. Shocker. And Rick got away, but only because Tom sacrificed himself to save Rick, so Tom becomes number 5 on our kill count. Rick returns to being the guy in the chair, and Regina gets into the elevator to meet up with Gale, and she's attacked. Oh no, I wonder by what. That's right, another raptor. She comes across another doctor. This one again hands her something before falling over dead, kind of like Capcom loves to reuse the same animation. But again, I ain't gonna count him as dead just yet, because Regina is attacked again by yet another raptor. This time, Regina locks the raptor in the room with the passed out doctor, before sealing the door and flooding the room with green poisonous gas, killing the raptor, but also killing Dr. Carrot Top, because it's funnier this way. And now he's on the list as number 6 due to fainting out like a little bitch and dying via poisonous gas. Don't ask why, it's just more entertaining to me this way. I know he probably died before the gas. Let me have this. Turns out the item Dr. Carrot Top gave Regina was a keycard to Dr. Kirk's private lab. However, just like in T2, two people need to swipe and or turn the keys at the same time to open a door. Just imagine how much of a pain in the ass this is every time you take a break or go to the bathroom. You gotta find someone to let you back into your own lab. It's a shitty thing for security to do. After trying to access a nearby computer, Gale triggers a security lockdown. Rick is able to lift the lockdown, but only for 10 minutes. Rick says there's a way out of Dr. Kirk's office, and Rick knows he can open the hatch to let them out. Gale decides to shoot his way out the same way that he came in. Anyway, the two argue again, and the two fight like a married couple again. Regina goes into Dr. Kirk's office and proceeds to do what I assume is, well, against a lot of fire regulations, because she has to solve a very annoying memory puzzle. Just imagine if there's a fire and you need to get out. Nope, you have to solve a crappy memory number puzzle, and you get only 2 chances. Otherwise, you get locked out in an emergency. You get locked out in an emergency. So the room is on fire. You better not panic too much, otherwise you'll end up a crispy critter. But since I've played video games before, and namely Capcom games before, this is more of an eye roll than a pain in the ass, so Regina drops down the shaft and nearly on top of Dr. Kirk. After introductions, Gale makes his way into the conversation. Dr. Kirk says his research is nearly complete, and he only needs to see the data. Gale says, "Tough fucking titties, you're coming with me." Then Dr. Draco Malfoy throws a little hissy fit. After throwing his toddler-esque temper tantrum, Gale points a gun at Dr. Kirk, and that gets him to comply. Gale tells Regina to find the communications room and call in for their chopper. Regina finds a room and deploys a comms dish, and after exiting the room and going to the nearby communications room, I guess they're in 2 separate places, Rexy comes back up in full swing, and he's full of Tums and ready to rock and roll. Take a bite out of Regina's ass. Actually, he just probably swallowed her whole. Anyway, Regina has to run from tower to tower, avoiding Rexy, and she gets in there and begins to call and goes through a really shitty signal, but somehow they receive the message and they send a helicopter on the way. Regina makes her way to the landing zone to find only Dr. Kirk and Rick. Regina asks where Gale is. Rick responds that he had some quote-unquote unfinished business. Before Regina could ask, the helicopter shines the light on them, and just before the helicopter's about to land, Rexy breaks through a wall, and that seems like it should have been constructed to prevent that kind of thing. However, the helicopter pilot, instead of pulling up or flying away, gets knocked out of the sky, and the T-Rex either kills him or he died from the crash or the fire. Either way, Chopper Pilot ends up as number 7 on our list because he couldn't pull up, out, or away. In the ensuing chaos, Rick and Regina are split off from Dr. Kirk. The two make their way deeper into the lab and find some research notes of Dr. Kirk's, referencing something referred to only as the third energy. Since there's a control room and Rick is, well, the guy in the chair, he says he'll stay behind, and Regina runs into Dr. Kirk. Now Kirk is in full Draco Malfoy shit brick mode and has a gun pointed at Regina's head. Dr. Kirk is about to go into a monologue when Gale returns with another full Ex Machina and saves Regina by shooting the gun from Draco's hand. Gale tells Rick over the comms that they caught Dr. Kirk and report to the current location immediately. Dr. Kirk explains what the third energy is, or at least what the third energy has the ability to do, which is change space-time and swap a point in space with that same point in space at another time, which explains why there's so many dinosaurs running around. Dr. Kirk has no interest at all in all the lives lost from the experiment. Gale informs them that his space hole is blocked their only way out. Kirk smugly replies that it's called a vortex, and the only way to get rid of it is to allow the generators or the third energy to overload, making the vortex and the third energy kind of cancel each other out. But allowing the third energy generators to overload will cause the entire island to shift into another place in time. Gale states the obvious and says, well, we just have to be someplace else before that happens. No shit. Dr. Kirk reluctantly hands over some parts for the device that will initiate this generator overload. Rick arrives and somehow already knows the plan, and he has whipped up a program that will help overload the generators of the third energy remotely. I guess he was coding while he was running this way, dodging dinos and typing it on an iPad or something, even though they didn't exist back in the 90s. Anyway, Gale says he'll stay behind and make sure that the doctor doesn't escape. Rick says that he has a little bit more programming to do, leaving only Regina to get the rest of the devices, assemble them, and start up the endgame. I mean, the third generator energy thing. Regina gets the parts and pieces and puts them in their place and activates the third energy generators. She sets the power to max, turbines to speed. That was a Batman reference. Slowly beginning the overload process, causing the entire area to shake and rumble. Elsewhere, or meanwhile, Gale saves Dr. Kirk from falling debris. Dr. Kirk takes this as a chance to run away like a little bitch, and this time Gale had a 007 tracking device in his hand, I guess when he got crushed, because he tosses it on Dr. Kirk's back. Regina finds Gale under the debris. After lifting him out and getting him back to the control room with Rick, Rick uses the resonating third energy to break the vortex and clear the path. Yeah, I don't really understand it either. Gale tells Regina and Rick to leave him. He has to go get Kirk, and if he's not back in 30 minutes, just wait longer. Regina tells Rick to go to the port and prep their escape from the island via boat. Then Regina catches up with Gale and Dr. Kirk, who are in a little bit of a standoff. After a short conversation, Gale reveals their true mission was to get the data of this third energy that we ironically didn't find anything out about until the third act. But they want to get this third energy because their government wants to use it as a weapon. Gale gives Regina the data, just as Regina goes to reach for Gale to help him back to the port and escape. Gale slumps onto the floor and succumbs to his injuries, becoming number 8 on our kill count. After Gale's death, Kirk laughs like a prick, so Regina punches him right in his Draco Malfoy face and forces him to the port and onto the boat as the 3 survivors make their way off the island. Big ol' Rexy himself decides to pay them one last visit. Regina tries to go full John McClane and shoots him with a handgun while she's loading in a rocket into the boat's missile system. Rick uses the missile to blow open the silo doors so they can get out into open ocean and escape the island that's about to get sent back 65 million years into time. Regina somehow finds C4. At the same time, Rexy reappears, and Regina tosses the C4 into Rexy's open mouth, calling the big dino dick handsome, and then calling him extinct before pushing a button and blowing the big lizard into a million pieces of fish food. The boat rides off into the sunset, and this is the end of the very first Dino Crisis. So there you have it. We had a total of 8 kills in this one. I'm sorry. I gotta apologize right off the bat. I have a cold right now. The only reason I don't sound like it is because I have nose spray in. And it's really kind of hard to breathe and catch my breath in between speaking, so I don't have the normal amount of enthusiasm in my voice. And the entire time I was fighting the urge to cough. So I can guarantee you that the next one of these kill counts will be better. But I wanted to get content out for you guys weekly. And so we all gotta suffer, I guess. But anyway, I believe that Capcom should remake this series, Dino Crisis. They should remake it just like they did with the Resident Evil 2 and 3 remakes. Same kind of style. There's actually a mod that I'm going to show you guys on screen right now of Resident Evil 3. And this makes Jill into Regina and turns the enemies into dinosaurs, raptors. Surprise. But I'm going to put the link to that mod down in the description. It gives you a little bit of taste of what Dino Crisis would be like if it was remade on current consoles in the current way that Capcom's remaking their games. But anyway, that's all I have for you guys. In this video, I'm going to go take a nap. Have a good weekend. Have a good week. Stay safe. Oh, don't get sick like me. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye.